Hi folks, welcome to this episode of Stranraer by-election Beyond the Leaflet. I'm Andrew Gusti, I'm hosting this for the purposes of getting more information out to the public, the voters, before this election. The goal of this is to provide an uninterrupted platform for candidates to clearly articulate their vision and policy priorities for Stranraer area. We'll go through sections of pre-agreed questions where they will have 5 minutes to go through each question, and I will ask for a sum up at the end of the 5 minutes. I'm not going to be counter questioning or cross-examining, as I don't think that would be fair as a sitting member of the council. So today I have your Liberal Democrat candidate, Tracy Warman. Tracy?
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me along, and looking forward to the opportunity to answering the questions.
Not a problem. Well, we'll go straight into it then, Tracy. Our first question, which is Stranraer's economy. What is your overarching vision for the economy of Stranraer, and what key strategies would you implement to promote local growth and address economic challenges over the next 5 years?
Okay, well, in answer to that question, I've done a bit of fact finding so that I can get an idea of where the town currently sits. The population of Rins is about 15,500, of 11,000 which live in Stranraer. Government statistics collected show that 50% of residents are classified as financially stretched, and this is higher than the average for Dumfries and Galloway as a whole, which sits at about 33%. Only 17% of residents in Stranraer consider that they live in a comfortable community. Again, over 42% live in a comfortable community when taken as Dumfries and Galloway as a whole. We've got a falling population within the working age group, although figures for under 16s and over 16s is higher than the average regional average. We need to think about the future of the school children, who are now the future workforce for us. Currently, 50% of all the jobs in the town are in the town centre. Main employers with Stranraer being the council, the NHS, the Creamery and Gentex. The Creamery is currently advertising for skilled engineers, so there's definitely work out there to be taken for those that are qualified to do so. 3 out of 4 of the high street stores are independent, but online shopping has and is having a negative impact on the area, as it is nationwide. 1 in 5 units are currently empty. To grow the economy and support the local businesses, we need to encourage people to the area. The 10-year place plan with Borderlands is already starting to create an impact to draw people to the waterfront, and this now needs to be built upon to encourage visitors into the town centre. Liberal Democrats have a strong ethos of bringing power into local communities. These are the people that know their areas best and should have the ability to decide what they want to show off the best for their town. We've already seen the impact of the local artist work that has happened on the George Hotel site, turning the building into a focal point whilst it undergoes its transformation into a community centre and bunkhouse. A similar approach could be taken for the empty buildings within the town. Owners of the empty buildings should be required to keep the buildings looking smart even when empty, ensuring that the empty shops are cleared and that the windows and frontages are kept clean looking rather than deserted. Short-term pop-ups should be encouraged whilst buildings are between lets to keep the town centre alive. Pedestrianisation of the town centre would make it a more inviting high street. The narrow roadways do not make for easy access for shoppers, particularly if you are in a wheelchair or have a baby buggy. Good signage advertising what is available in and around the town will help to give a pleasant visitor and residential experience. One of the suggestions currently being mooted for Dumfries and Galloway is that of a visitor levy. It will be imposed upon visitors staying overnight. I'm strongly against the levy, unless it is going to be imposed UK-wide. When making a decision on where to visit, with the tightening of purse strings everywhere, the added burden of a visitor levy will surely have a negative impact on the choice. South of Scotland Destination Alliance are actively trying to promote the region as a place to visit, and the levy would be the surest way to turn a potential visitor off. The investment in the waterfront will create employment well into the future, and the local community should feel that they have a role to play now and in that future. As a community, We need to continue to promote all the fantastic events that are on offer and those that are planned for the future. Stranraer and the Rins needs to become a destination of desire.
You're under your 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Have you got anything to sum up, or are you
I'm happy with
happy with that? Not a problem. Thanks for that, Tracy. Are you ready just to go straight into question number 2?
Yeah, we can go into question number 2.
So question number 2 is Stranraer and the Rins social care. What are your priorities for improving the delivery of health and social care services in Stranraer and the Rins, and how would you ensure better support for vulnerable residents and carers in our community?
Well, first and foremost, we need to bring the maternity unity back into Stranraer. No mother should be faced with the prospect of a 75-mile plus journey along a notoriously dangerous road in order to deliver her child. We have the facilities in place. We now need to encourage qualified staff to relocate into the area. This could be done by converting premises into key worker affordable housing. We need to look at the immigration skill charge and exempt NHS and care workers from this charge if we are unable to fill the vacancies from our own workforce. Care workers should be given a much higher status than is current. The role is vital, and those that undertake it are doing so on low wages and with limited options of promotion. My mother was looked after magnificently in Belmont Care Home. The staff were fantastic, unfailingly welcoming and kind. With a general basic wage of £12.60 per hour, this does not reflect the care and the responsibility that our hidden teams of care workers undertake. Old age is not a sickness. With luck, it happens to us all, and we should all deserve to be able to live in our own homes, should we desire, without the fear that due to lack of funds or care, we'll be unable to do so. I also think that having community day centres that allow the generations to mix with obvious safeguarding processes in place is a good use of facilities and gives a sense of community between the generations. It's a good way of forging friendships across those generations. In Holland, focus is very much on enabling elderly people to live independently for as long as possible, with the help of home support and community living. It's not uncommon for people with dementia to live in dementia villages, which are purposely built with familiarity at the key. Many European countries have mandatory health insurance, which ensures funding for old age is already in place. Healthcare for the elderly is usually administered by local councils, not from the higher levels. Bringing back care into the local communities is key. I would continue to support changes that would enable faster access to GPs, which could include specialist teams into the local area for physiotherapy and mental health issues in order to lessen the workload on GPs. I'd also look to communities to make use of pharmacies for simple ailments. Mental health has a huge impact on our health service and on our society as a whole. As a long-term goal, we need to be increasing the training of psychiatrists and clinical psychologists and ensuring support is available in our schools to help spot and support young people who may be suffering from mental health issues. We need to focus on preventative care rather than a cure.
What time? I'm going to fly through this. I'll give you a quick rest, and one of the reasons why we're hosting this, folks, is so that you get to meet our candidates for the by-election, almost an in-person podcast kind of style. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to host a hustings, which I've been asked to why we didn't have one, so I felt like this was the next best thing, and we've been supported by the Millennium Centre to do that, and I thank them for that. All candidates have been invited, although at the shortness of time, I think Tracy will tell you, we only got the messages out on Monday for a Wednesday, Thursday slot, so it didn't quite fit in with some of our candidates. So we'll move on to question number 3. Question number 3 is Stranraer and the Rins education. What is your strategy for ensuring high quality, equitable education for all learners in Stranraer and the Rins, and how would you specifically support schools to meet the diverse needs of local students?
Thank you. We have 5 primary schools and 1 academy in Stranraer, along with the Stranraer campus of Dumfries and Galloway College. Also primary schools are in Leswolt, Kirkham, Kirkpatrick and Sandhead. There's just over 1,000 pupils in the academy. The last inspection was in 2014, which showed the academy was improving and heading in the right direction. The last head teacher report of October 2024 showed that the school achieved its best hires results in English, photography, sociology and health and food tech. It also provides excellent sports facilities. The academy has very good provisions for SEND students with 2 dedicated areas, the AIRD and the Learning Centre. AIRD is equipped with a sensory room, a kitchen which teaches life skills and a hydrotherapy pool. There's evidence that parents of the SEND children are very pleased with their progress that their children have made whilst attending the academy. Stranraer Academy is also involved in Scotland Reads programme, where S1 students are identified by teachers as benefiting from the programme, with reading on a one-to-one basis being carried out by volunteers. This approach has been in place since 2012 and has shown vast results in improvements to the reading skills, confidence and motivation. The school is very connected with the parents and has active parent council, which is easily accessible via various social media platforms. We need to ensure that our teacher recruitment and retention is high on the agenda to ensure the continued improvement of the schools. There's talk at the moment for some of the primary schools that are less than 50 pupils to be amalgamated. Some of those that may be affected are within our region, although primarily most of them have more than 50 pupils. This is something that we have to consider. Is it right for the children to be moved from their small secure environment into a larger one? A lot of consideration needs to be given to the several children that would be involved if this was to happen. Also, the transport for school children to get to those schools should they have to move. Are the parents going to be assisted? 1 in 5 parents has no access to a vehicle, so they're going to be fully dependent upon public transport, more of which later. We do have the D&G College campus at Stranraer. This offers a wide variety of courses across many areas, mostly vocational, but including engineering, childcare, construction, professional cookery, hairdressing, etc. These skills are vital for our future, and along with the modern apprenticeships available, by investing in these now, we are ensuring that our young people are the hope and the future for Stranraer.
You're beating the time every time. There we go. Moving on to Stranraer transport and infrastructure. Question number 4. In your view, what are the most critical transport and infrastructure needs for Stranraer, and what specific actions would you pursue to improve connectivity and access across the area?
I've looked into this previously for a question that was asked of the local newspaper, and the findings are quite grim. There's very little connection at the moment between trains arriving in the station and buses departing. Without access to a car, travellers are severely limited on their onward journey once they arrive at Stranraer station if they live outside the town. I would look to providers to coordinate timetables so that there is public transport available to coincide with the last train arrival to ensure safe onward travel. I'd also push back for a pick-up within the station grounds for the buses. Currently, it can take around 10 minutes to walk from the platform to the nearest bus stop. The station approach is poorly lit, and it could benefit from the platform being moved closer to the road for safety and passenger convenience. Following the transfer of the ferry port in 2011, the current position of the platform is not fit for purpose. If people have a delay in their train through no fault of their own, they're in danger of them missing their onward journey bus and potentially having to fork out for a taxi or dependent on friends who may be able to come and collect them. I actually had to do this myself fairly recently. A friend was returning from Glasgow, was due to get a bus from Stranraer and found herself stranded, so I drove across to pick her up. She only missed the bus by 5 minutes, but that 5 minutes actually would have caused her 2 hours of waiting for another bus to turn up for her. There could be a rail link or a tram between Cairnryan Port and Stranraer. This would allow passengers to make better use of public transport for their onward ferry travel, and it would also draw people from Ireland to come into Stranraer itself for its own being. They could do it as foot passengers without having the need for a car. Currently, transport between the port and Stranraer is very, very limited. This could become part of a multimodal transport hub, which would aim to reduce the dependence on private transport by offering a joined up and coordinated transport link between trains, buses, electric vehicles including cars, minibuses and bikes across Wigtonshire. Having a good public transport system would allow visitors to the region to enjoy what we have to offer without worrying about where they're going to park when they get here. Onto the A75. It has had its highest number of fatal accidents in the year April 24 to April 25, with 5 fatalities. This figure has sadly increased over the summer. Temporary average speed cameras from Newton Stewart to Cretan were installed in July and have been operational since August. These cameras are to allow mobile speed cameras to be operational in other parts of the highway to increase road safety. The dualling of the A75 has been a hot topic for many years, and I shall strongly be behind the implementation. Keeping HGVs and private cars separate would go a long way to resolving the frustration that can be experienced when stuck behind a large vehicle on a road with no means of passing safely. By dualling the majority of the A75, this would allow both types of vehicle the space they would need for their particular journey. The dualling of both the A77 and the A75 would bring £5 billion of positive benefits to the entire UK economy, according to the Strategic and Economics Impact Report commissioned by Dumfries and Galloway, South Ayrshire and East Antrim councils. The maintenance of our roads, footpaths and pavements is the responsibility of Dumfries and Galloway Council. Dumfries and Galloway road maintenance team inspects all the major routes on a monthly basis, secondary routes on a quarterly basis and local access rates a minimum of yearly. When a problem is identified, various options are open to the maintenance team as to what form of repair should be made. Some of these can cause more disruption and inconvenience to the public. I would like to bring the maintenance of our region's roads back to local control to give greater efficiency and coordination. If a pothole can be reported locally and action confirmed within a shorter timescale using local knowledge, a more efficient method of upkeep can be implemented, using community councils with their in-depth knowledge of their own area as a hub for these local issues. My aim is again for regional voices to be dealt with at a local level to ensure that they're heard and to bring decisions back to a more local level.
Thank you. Within time again.
Just about.
Moving on to question number 5. Stranraer community. How do you propose to empower and collaborate? How do you propose to empower and collaborate with local community groups, charities and trusts to strengthen the social fabric of Stranraer and address issues like social isolation and local amenity provision?
We're very lucky in this area to have a very active community society. There really is something for everyone, from arts, drama, sports, transport hubs, credit unions, men's shed, music, too many to list. I would support the groups in any way that I could. I'm a great believer in empowering local communities to lead themselves. At times, groups can suffer due to lack of membership, but by forming a network across the region to bring the groups together, this could be avoided. Free advertising services via the libraries, town centre bulletin boards, and the use of social media could assist in letting people know what's out there. A directory of all available groups could be produced and distributed across the region, so that isolated individuals could be made aware of what is available. Disused premises could be used to host some of the various groups, with shared options where needed to bring people together and to make good use of empty buildings. Isolation is a very strong problem. People can be put into their homes, they may have lack of ambition, they may have lack of information, they may have lack of ability to take themselves to the various communities. To have a community sponsor within each of the various groups that are available to us would ensure that people could be invited along to the groups, and to have volunteers to be coordinated to take them to and from the groups. To also enlist on having Zoom type meetings or Teams meetings and help people with technical support so that they themselves can feel part of the groups that may be available. Having online library centres, having online music centres, all of these would help to involve those people that don't necessarily get to the places that they would like to ordinarily. I would strongly encourage all of the groups to be as inclusive as possible There really is something for everybody. Anybody that wants something needs to know it's there and have the assistance given to them in order to achieve that.
Thank you. Lightning speed. Tracy, lightning speed. Well, we're on to our final question, Tracy, which is the candidate pitch. And in this, you will have one final 5-minute elevator pitch to the people of Stranraer. Why are you the definitive right candidate to represent this ward, and what unique commitment will you make to ensure their voices are heard?
Okay. Well, as you can tell by my accent, I'm not local to this area, but I chose Dumfries and Galloway as my home 8 years ago, having moved up from the Sussex coast. The first thing that struck me was how very welcoming people were. Within a space of a few months, I'd made more connections with people than I had in the 7 years I spent in my previous village. This area is now well and truly home. I genuinely love meeting new people and take as active a role as I can in various areas, including volunteering in my community shop and being a member of my local community council. I love listening to people to tell me about their lives, and I get a great deal of pleasure if I'm asked to help out in any way to make life a little simpler. As a Liberal Democrat, my overwhelming desire is to offer a fair deal for everyone. Fair deal for decent homes, good education, high quality healthcare. As a Liberal Democrat, I strongly support the rejoining of the EU and the single market. Post-referendum tariffs and excessive red tape have hit small and medium businesses and agriculture across our region. Restoring unrestricted trade with Northern Ireland and Ayr would be a huge benefit to Stranraer. I work in the agricultural industry myself now, now that I don't work full time, and I have noticed the difference between now and 6 years ago in terms of costing of feed, of employment, of actually getting people in that will do the work that's required when it's not available in our local area. I believe in the right of individuals to make their own decisions, providing that no harm is caused to others. My aim is to empower and support individuals to pursue their dreams. I believe in equality. No one should be held back by poverty, poor health, or discrimination. Every voice has the right to be heard. I believe people should be involved in the running of their communities, and I'm determined that this will be a reality within Stranraer and the Rins.
Thank you, Tracy Warman. Tracy Warman, everybody, your Liberal Democrat candidate for Stranraer's by-election, which is next Thursday, the 20th of November.